We have every reason in the world to ask the question, was that a Muslim? Turns out it wasn't this time. And guess what? That doesn't mean a goddamn thing. That doesn't stop the fact that 9 out of the next 10 terror attacks are going to be committed by Muslims. Keep looking at the news, my man. Check the news tomorrow morning and you see where the blood is. Who has blood on their hands in tomorrow's newspaper? You check. Check back with me tomorrow. Let's do this again. You iron that pink shirt and meet me here tomorrow and let's go over the newspaper, okay?
So we have yet another attack by Al-Shabaab. This is an Islamic radical group in Somalia. This time they've gone to bordering Kenya and done a vicious attack against Garissa University College there near the border. At least 147 people have been killed. They believe the main perpetrator is a guy named Mohammed Mohamud. They have a $220,000 bounty on him. They've killed at least 4 of the attackers, but it is unclear at this moment how many attackers there were overall. Al-Shabaab had also done a deadly attack in 2013 against the Westgate shopping mall in Nairobi that had killed at least 67 people. Police say that 312 people have been killed by Al-Shabaab attacks in Kenya from 2012 to 2014. So this is repeated. It is over and over again. The reason Al-Shabaab is attacking Kenya is because Kenya has decided to put in troops to fight against Al-Shabaab in Somalia. Now, who can blame them, given that Al-Shabaab is constantly going over the border and doing one massacre after another? Religious fundamentalists often love to play the victim card.
Whoa. Slow down. Did you just say religious fundamentalists? Oh, Jank, that seems a bit general, doesn't it? You might as well just say humans sometimes like to play the whatever card. No, it's Muslim terrorists, Islamists. It's Islamic people committing these acts of violence from Islamic terrorist groups. There is not an equivalent to this. You cannot generalize this. You know, I feel like Caesar Milan. Do you guys watch The Dog Whisperer? Okay, Caesar Milan is the greatest dog trainer in the history of time, and what he does is he'll correct the dog. So if the dog starts to growl, he'll touch the dog. He'll touch him like in his rear, in his hind. He'll just give a like that. And that's what Jank needs. He needs like some sort of electroshock therapy where if he just tries to generalize this into religious fundamentalists, he needs to be I need to be the Buffalo Whisperer, is essentially what I'm saying. Ken Ham is not doing this. Kirk Cameron is not doing this. Christians are not doing this. Jews are not doing this. This is a problem unique to Islam. What did I say in the last video? I said check the news tomorrow morning. I woke up this morning. It's not just the massacre in Kenya. It's not the 147. There's 17 people that got blowed up in Afghanistan by a suicide bomber. Now, do you want me to dive into that article and tell you the religion of the person that is now exploded? You know the religion of the person that exploded. I don't have to tell you that. It's not fundamentalist religion. It's Islam.
Al-Shabaab puts out statements like they're being victimized by Kenya. You just massacred 147 students. I don't think you get to play the victim card. Now, they claimed responsibility for this attack. They said, we sorted people out and released the Muslims. They say that like as if they're good guys. But in their insane worldview, if you believe in the right kind of sky god and the right interpretation of his texts, well, then you're safe and you're awesome, and everybody else has got to be murdered, obviously. This is yet another, honestly, horrific, radical Islamic group. Some people obviously have trouble with nuance, and so when there's an attack like this, they like to say Muslims in general. That's not true.
And now entering the building is the resuscitated dead body of this straw man argument that has been dragged before us. This cadaver of a straw man. Yet again, we are going to talk about every Muslim, that somebody is saying every Muslim, generalize all Muslims. Yeah, these guys in Kenya killing these people, I blame every Muslim for what these guys did. An argument that literally wastes our time and reveals the fact that this guy does not want to talk about the facts, about what is actually happening here, the trend My God, the overwhelming trend that is happening.
But other people, sometimes, not very often, will say, hey, you know what? Christians do it, Muslims do it, Jews do it. And that's true, and we've talked about that endlessly, right?
No, 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 no. Cenk, no. No, Christians do not do this. There is no equivalent of Al-Shabaab in Christianity or Judaism, but let me get to that. Christianity, they don't have this. You can take your Anders Breivik, who was not a Christian, and I should do an entire video about that, shove it up your ass. You can take the Lord's Resistance Army, which sounds great. Turns out it's 250 people in the middle of a jungle doing next to nothing and is not condoned by any segment of Christianity at large. There is no group like this in Christianity. Not to mention multiple groups like this. There is no Christian version of Hamas, of Hezbollah, of al-Nusra, of the Taliban, ISIS, Al-Qaeda, or Al-Qaeda. None of it. This is not an equivalence, Cenk. You cannot do that. I know you want to. I know you want to. You want to so bad that you will bring up the Jews again. A guy who pretends that he's not a Muslim apologist, and at every turn, he throws the Jews under the bus. The unicorns. The Jews are unicorns. 0.2% of the world is Jewish. There are a dozen Jews on the planet. Okay? That is ridiculous. Jews do not savagely go off and kill innocent people. Now, if you want to get into your Zionism, bullshit, anti-Semitic, ridiculous, blame the Jews for everything argument about Israel, go ahead. Waste your day doing that. That's bullshit and you know it. Yeah, how dare those Jews defend themselves for their existence? Ridiculous, the mother of all red herrings. I cannot believe that a massacre in Kenya by Muslims killing Christians specifically for Islamic reasons, specifically because they were Christian. And the words, Christians do it, Jews do it, comes out of his mouth. I mean, you cannot make this shit up. You cannot have a more simplified stooge of an apologist making excuses for the inexcusable.
But you have to acknowledge that groups like Boko Haram and Al-Shabaab and ISIS and Al-Qaeda have done it far more frequently worldwide. In the U.S., actually, right-wing terrorism happens more frequently than Muslim terrorism does.
Holy shit. Dude, I'm going to bash my head against a wall if I hear this argument one more time. I should make a separate video for this. I really should, but here's the quick and dirty version of it. What he just did was an abortion of logic. Okay, with a straight face, this buffalo, with a straight, hairy, sweaty, bug-eyed face, this guy just looked at you and said to you this statement: in America, Muslims don't commit as many terror attacks as right-wingers. Now, come closer to your laptop because I'm about to tell you a key point to that statistic that he does not mention. Muslims make up less than a percentage, 1 percentage point of the population of America. They still commit like 15% of the terror attacks in America, depending on what years you want to look at, which is an outrageous number. That is a catastrophic number. We're talking about the Fort Hood killer. We're talking about the DC sniper, 9/11, the Boston bombing. They are operating at a number that doesn't even come close to reflecting the percentage that they represent in the country. They should be committing less than 1% of terror attacks. They're not. For him to start to address the obvious fact that Muslims commit the vast majority of terror attacks in the world, 91% in recent times. The fact that he shamelessly decides to drop a little nugget of a fact on you, that they don't do it as much in America. In other words, it's not 51%. In America, the Muslims, the less than 1% of America, Muslims, don't commit 51 or more percentage of the terror attacks in America. Therefore, fucking what? Therefore what, Cenk? Here, let me throw another little gem of a fact at you. The Muslims in Greenland don't commit that much terror there. In fact, the terror and crime in general in Greenland is mostly done by white non-Muslims. Here's another fun fact. There are no Muslims in Greenland.
But worldwide, Muslim terrorism is a real problem. Certainly in Africa, this is one example of it. And the problem isn't all Muslims. The problem is Islamic radicals who are a scourge upon the earth.
Yeah, see, here is the cognitive dissonance of Cenk. That statement, if you took it without all his bullshit excuse making, alone is correct. It's not all Muslims, but Islamic extremism is the scourge of the earth and is a massive problem. I like how he categorizes it as it's a problem. It's a problem. It's a problem. We have other problems. Teen pregnancy, that's a problem. There's a certain kind of frog. There's a species of frog in the Amazon that its ecosystem is being eradicated. That's a problem. So this is one of many problems. What you don't get with this guy is he doesn't stop there. He has to mention Jews and Christians, and he has to try to create a false equivalence, and then throw in ridiculous stats like the one we just discussed.
These are fundamentalists who believe that their God is supreme to everyone else's, that they get to kill on behalf of their God, and that is how they should, fight back against the rest of society. And it is horrific to look at. And these radicals of all the religions.
No, stop. I was waiting for it. I was waiting. I was on pins and needles waiting. He could not get through that sentence. He cannot criticize Islam and leave it there. Every part of his being, every fiber in his fat buffalo sinews is begging him to drag other religions down for no reason, falsely. It's not every other religion, Cenk. Look at the goddamn stats. Look at today's paper. Nobody does this but Muslims.
And these radicals of all the religions, but in this case, we're talking about radical Islam, have to be defeated.
In this case here, in this case, in 91% of the cases, right, we're talking about Muslims. But, there's other cases.
By the way, the answer isn't necessarily, okay, we bomb more. Because if you bomb more in those areas, you might drive more people to them. This president of Syria, Bashar al-Assad, who's a dictator and ruthless in his own right, but is fighting against ISIS in Syria, said when America bombs ISIS, he says basically, I wish they would kill ISIS. They're my mortal enemies. They're the ones that I'm fighting the civil war against. But it actually helps ISIS. It creates more people willing to fight on their behalf.
And now we go to the other narrative. His final narrative, just to put a bow on this pile of shit that he's saying, is let's blame America. America, a baby of a country, 200 years old. But yeah, America is probably the reason that Muslims have been killing people for 1,400 years. Yeah, it's an amazing piece of logic. Just brilliant. Right, it's big, bad America. And it's our government. But why? Because you're a progressive stain. You're a progressive schmuck riding in on your self-hating white horse. And who are you going to blame? You gotta blame the powerful. And who's powerful? America. So rinse and repeat every fucking day you get on your webcam. Every day. You're gonna blame America for something. Jesus Christ. Guess what else? People in Canada have a problem with this. People in Australia, in every single country of Europe, all over Africa, all over the Middle East, in Russia. There is a world outside of America, and there are Muslims killing people in that world. This has nothing to do with America.
So now we've got to fight back against al-Shabaab. The question is, how do you fight? I hope for the sake of Kenya, Somalia, and all of civilized society, that we fight back in a smart way. We've got to end their support on the ground. We've got to make sure that they're rooted out. Bombs are not necessarily the right answer. From time to time, they might be. But oftentimes, they are counterproductive. So please, for God's sake and everybody else's sake, let's be smart and get rid of these guys with an effective strategy.
Thank you once again, brown-skinned amateur guy with opinion. You are a cab driver. Why are you talking? I honestly, excuse me, let me just preface for those of you who might wonder why I'm calling him brown-skinned. Do you know why I call him brown-skinned? Because he calls me white-skinned. You want equality? You want progress? There's progress. You attack white people with a vengeance on your channel. So guess what? You are a brown. You're a brown. Okay? Fuck you.
I remember when I lost my mind. There was something so pleasant about